We'll go ahead and get started. Call the meeting to order.
Vasconcelos,
Here.
Carlson,
Here.
Angeles,
Here.
Westergaard. Absent. Brigadier General Donnellan.
Here.
Boesiger. Absent. Cunningham. Absent. Majid. Absent. Willetts.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. We're ready to go.
Yes, I think Carrie Westergaard is on her way.
Excellent.
So the first order of business is approval of the minutes from our last meeting on November 2nd. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of the minutes as printed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's done. Let's see, we're up to the director's report. Rebecca.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see everyone in person. Thank you for braving the roads this morning and also the parking, which continues to be full, which is exciting. I do have a few items for you this morning that we'll go through as part of the director's report. We always start with talking about how the airport is doing from an operational perspective and some closures. You can see that we've had some routine maintenance, which is not uncommon. We've also already had a fair amount of snow removal. Nothing substantial and nothing that's impacted our ability to operate, but when we do have snow, we close the runways to remove snow. Obviously, we cannot have vehicles and aircraft operating on the same surface. So hopefully that goes without saying, but there might be someone who's watching who might be new to them. So, and construction continues. And as you come in, you can see that we're actually at level 3 of the public garage, and we're installing the louvers on the pedestrian bridge. And then the new west face surface parking exit road is getting ready to pave. So those things are all coming to fruition and continuing to take shape. And the employee garage has probably changed quite a bit since you were last here. As the building starts to come out of the ground, you can really see it starting to take shape. We have the construction of the retaining walls that are in process, and then the forms are being installed for the main elevator. So those projects continue on time and on budget, and we're excited to have them coming online here soon. If you've traveled recently, you've probably noticed our expanded checkpoint. We opened that shortly after our last commission meeting, actually. And in time for the Thanksgiving holiday travel, we have Clear, which launched, and we had a ribbon cutting for that. It's been a huge success. Passengers are really pleased to have that as an option, those who have Clear from other places, and they've had quite a few people enroll in the Clear product. And the checkpoint lanes, the security lane, we've actually added a lane. Now we are at the point where we're relocating some of the offices and building out offices for law enforcement and also for TSA. We are continuing progress on the consolidated rental car facilities. The Idaho Statesman did a big story on it, but nothing there that we haven't already discussed. But we did go to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a height variance because of the height of that facility, and that was approved unanimously. We'll be going to design review for December 14th, and we're working towards a groundbreaking in early 2025. So more to come on that. And we've talked about parking multiple times already today, but parking is at the forefront of our mind. We added 340 new spaces to the economy lot, and I'm happy to say that we actually needed them over Thanksgiving break. We used, I don't remember how many, but we were down to a couple hundred spaces over spring break, which means we used probably over 100 of the new spaces. It was a busy travel season, which we will get to shortly. Thanksgiving travel, we had over $150,000 during the peak Thanksgiving travel season. Again, expanded parking options with expansion in economy and also expanding the valet lot. We added some additional spaces there by moving some fence. And then we had the Go therapy dogs here as well. People always love to see the therapy dogs of passengers and employees both. And we also had quite a bit of earned media coverage for that. Delta hosted a Toys for Tots drive. It was very successful. I forget how many they said that they delivered, but I want to say it was a whole baggage cart full. And some people brought toys in. They also had toys that people could buy and then add to the cart. They said people were coming by and just buying the whole table full of toys and adding them to the cart. So huge success, and thanks to Delta for doing that. We talked about Clear already, but this was the ribbon cutting. It was 11/15, so November 15th. And then because of the expansion, obviously we were able to add this amenity. So it was good timing for that. So we spend a lot of time talking about what's going on the terminal side. This is development on the air side. This is a new lease agreement that we have signed with a group called Burrell Aviation. They are a developer. This is across from SkyWest and across from the new Idaho Aeronautics hangar. They have about 4 acres on the north side, and they will be developing some hangars in that space. They have to begin construction by the 2024, and construction has to be completed by 2025. So. And finally, our airline use and lease agreement. We've talked about this a number of times as well. This was the first time that we've done a substantial change to our airline use and lease agreement. We have the vast majority of them back and signed by our airlines. I think we're missing maybe one that's still going through the legal process. It'll go to City Council in mid-December and will take effect in January 1. And just to put this in perspective, I asked Kathleen to run some of the numbers for how this will impact Boise Airport and the changes that we've made, how it will impact us going forward, and allow us to have almost $3 million per year in additional revenue that we can put into the infrastructure. So we'll retain more revenue under this existing agreement than we have in the past. So it's substantial. And we were out at the Amazon facility, but then the very next day they started their first flight on November 3rd. All seems to be going well. But those are pictures from the inaugural flight. And this is really a housekeeping item, but it is important to us. Safety management system is a requirement, it's a new federal requirement. It's been in the making probably for about a decade. And FAA has promulgated some rulemaking on it, and it's in the final stages of approval. We are actually starting this. The concept is to make safety integral to everything that we're doing at the airport through all of our processes, which we would hope that airports are doing anyway, but this really formalizes that process and situation and puts some guidelines to it. So we're starting that. We've done formalized some of our existing safety policies. We're having some internal training. We're going to do some tenant training this week. And then in 2023, we're going to do a phased implementation with a reporting hotline, a website, and we're going to also incorporate the safety into our badging operations. We also have a couple new members of our team. We've talked about our organization assessment and how we're adding staff so we can continue to accommodate the growth that we're seeing. And I see, oh, there they are. I was like, I thought I saw them walk in. So we have Ginger Hendricks and Marty Mendenhall, and they are both going to work in our properties department along with Amy. Amy is amazing. As you know, she gets so much work done for us, but she cannot do it all. We have over 300 leases that we manage, and that doesn't count the new industrial development that we've just started. So as we continue to add projects and add tenants, we do need to add some more staff, and there's more things that we can be doing if only we had the bandwidth. So this is great, and we're thrilled to have you ladies here with us. So thank you. And then these are passenger numbers for October. I think all of us who've worked here have felt this. If you've traveled through the airport, you probably suspected it. But it's really interesting when you see the numbers at 16% over 2019, which 2019 was our record year. And then that brings us up to 9% of passengers increase over 2019, which again was our highest year. To put this in perspective, most airports nationwide are at about 90 to 95% of their 2019 numbers. So we are trending a full 15 to 20% ahead of the national average. So it feels like a lot. And then when you look at the numbers, you're like, oh, that explains why it feels like that. So I won't dwell on this too much. These are our operating revenues, the top 10, and then other operating revenues. You can see, revenues are largely up. The signatory airline landing fees are down, and that's by design. That's because we decreased their rate. You can see food and beverage and retail are both up substantially, as well as parking revenue. And then when we look at our expenses, again, expenses are up a fair amount. A lot of those things are timing. A lot of that is, I'm trying to look at these here. There's some engineering stuff that's up substantially. The credit card fees, obviously, that's because we're doing more transactions. Some of it is timing, but I would say it's in line, and we're just looking at our end of year number, and we exceeded our revenue projections and income for the year by more than $1 million. So we continue to be in good shape. And that concludes my director's report.
Rebecca,
Yes.
this is just probably insignificant, but it's just for my own curiosity.
Okay.
With the increase, number of enplanements and passengers, so are people using Lyft, Uber more because of the parking issues?
Yes.
I mean, what are we seeing there, and how is that working with the designated
Mhm.
areas as well?
It is working much better with the designated area. There were a little bit of challenges, I think, when we initially started valet, because they're using a lot of that same curb space. We are going to meet with them probably early next year to talk about, as we move forward, what other options might be for staging. Particularly when we open the employee garage, we might have some more options for curbside pickup, drop off, some of those things. I don't recall the exact number. Kathleen, I think, may remember, but we looked at the Uber and Lyft numbers for this past year, and they're at about $500,000 in fees to the airport. Does that sound about right, ballpark?
We're up 60% compared to last year in terms of usage.
Wow,
There you go, Sean.
there you go. Thank you, and welcome.
To the two new employees, it's nice to have you here.
Questions?
Sure, just real quick. I don't know if I saw it right, but you're up 10% in October. It said to September. Was it just a typo? It's supposed to be to October.
Yeah, that probably
October
is.
2019.
So it's year to date. So
Year to date up 10%. Great. I think it was a previous.
It's a typo.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so it's October. Sorry.
I'll
sorry,
pass
I didn't
that
mean to
to
put
it.
that.
I didn't even notice it.
Does Clear have an office here?
Yes, they lease space as well as they lease the space in the checkpoint. They have office space. Yeah.
Where's their office?
Right behind the ticket counter, right behind United's ticket counter, pre-security, second floor.
Their office is only for their employees. It's not for public. So they do enrollment, but they do it at the kiosk. So they,
They do, okay.
Mhm. Yeah, it's actually there. So they have office space, but it's really administrative. It's not
I
public.
see. Okay. Commissioners' comments.
Starting with the tardy one. I apologize. I guess that's my comment, but it was my first experience with the economy lot, and I will
Oh.
say it was very smooth. However, getting here at 8:15 for an 8:30 meeting does not work at the economy lot, just an FYI for the future. So, yeah, good process. Just, sorry that I'm late. Chair, commissioners. This is part of your report.
Well, first of all, December 7th, a day that will live in infamy forever, Pearl Harbor Day. It's always good to take a pause and remember those who died on that day and others who fought valiantly then and thereafter. So I just saw a special on the Arizona, USS Arizona, and the development of it and the fact that they couldn't raise all the money. So Elvis Presley did a benefit concert to raise the rest of the money to make sure it was installed, which is cool. Welcome to Amy. I know has been stressed, and thank goodness you've got some good and capable and talented help. So happy to have you on the team. And I didn't travel in November, I'm happy to say. So I don't have any experience shares with regard to that.
General?
Well, good morning. Very impressive report. Thank you. So it's interesting to see how we handle growth. I would say the majority of the experience I've had in my lifetime, both personally and professionally, is that we've been behind the need and always late to need. But your organization and your leadership, all of you are ahead of that need. That's pretty impressive to see. So there's some great leadership lessons that you guys, I think, are teaching the rest of us about how to forecast and how to be accurate. Sometimes that's more luck than it is skill, but I think in your case it's skill. So it's very impressive to see the reports. Interesting points, and I think there were some great questions. Parking revenue is up. Obviously, we're building more parking, yet Uber is also increasing. So that's a whole side that those numbers don't mix to give a whole picture. You have to put them together. So it's very impressive what you guys are doing. And so I know on the guard side, it's exciting to watch. We're also trying to not build, but modernize our facilities. And I think that will be a part of the continuing great relationship we have on both sides. So thanks for all you do. Welcome to see the team getting bigger, but also getting better. So thank you for that great report.
Again, thank you, Rebecca, for everything. It's good to see everyone in person. Thank you for your patience over the last, seems like a couple of years. I actually officially got a frequent flyer card from the hospital. It was really cute. The nurse that came in and stuck the IV in me this last time said, "I have seen you so many times." I said, "Where's my frequent flyer card?" And so she went out and made one and brought it back to me. So I do now have my official frequent flyer card, not with the airport, with the hospital. And I'm not sure that's a good thing. I don't know. I have not traveled because of those circumstances, but again, congratulations. It's just wonderful to see this airport blossom and grow. And certainly, again, it is so important to the valley and to Idaho. We see it on our side of the valley. That's nice to see. And I can tell you that with the robust growth that's still going on, one of the main conversations we always had was, oh, what about the airport? What's the access? You know, because they're very concerned about not only employees, but also for their business, whatever it may be. So this is always a huge thing. Even though Caldwell has a very robust airport and does things well over there, this is still a huge issue for economic development, like I say, for the valley and the state. Again, it's just an honor to be on this board. I wish you a very Merry Christmas. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I am very grateful that I am here in person. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
I don't really have anything other than I was pleased to see that article on the front page of the Statesman, which wasn't really news, but it was pretty favorably written, I think, and it's nice to see something that doesn't have a lot of critical copyright in it. And Rebecca has a copy, if you're interested. That's all I've got.
We move to the next agenda.
New business?
Yes, so I'll do a quick introduction. All of you have met Kathleen Watkins. She's our Deputy Director of Finance and Business Development, and she led our work with the new airline use and lease agreement. One of the things that came out of that process is discovering that we really should have a gate use and assignment policy, both as it relates to the terminal, but also as it relates to alternative parking areas. And one of the things that this commission is charged with is approving policies and making recommendations to city council to approve policies. So every once in a while, we do have a policy to bring to you. This is a new one, and Kathleen is going to walk you through it. I do believe Michelle sent them to you in advance, and then you have hard copies in front of you as well.
Good morning. Yeah, so I'm just here to present to you the gate use and assignment policy. I believe everyone has a copy of that. Just an overview of what this policy is. It sets policies around how we prioritize gates, establish time frames for the amount of time a plane can park in a gate, processes in case we have to recapture a gate, hopefully not, but if it occurs, then we would need to do that. How to accommodate flights on a occupied gate. And it sets fines and penalties for failure to vacate the gates when we're asked. So that's in a nutshell what this policy is. It kind of came out of the airline use and lease agreement. As we went through those things, it was apparent that we were missing a few things that we haven't needed before, being a smaller airport and having plenty of gates. But now that we're gate constrained and we have new airlines coming in, this has become more of a priority for us. And so we put together this gate use policy. We worked with all the airlines, numerous meetings, through this with a fine tooth comb, also with their legal counsel. And this is the summation of everything that we did here. So we're asking for your recommendation to the city council, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Mr. Chair. Kathleen, I noticed that, and you mentioned it, the fees for failure to vacate, is that just memorializing what's been a practice, or is that a new practice?
I think that's a new practice, and I think it's at the discretion of the airport. We've never needed to do that, and hopefully we would never need to do that, but sometimes you'll get an airline in who doesn't want to play by the rules, and luckily all of our airlines are fantastic. I don't expect that we will ever have to use that, but it is there in case we need it.
Kathleen, and this is, again, probably one of those should be obvious questions, but, as a smaller city, we had no problem with plagiarizing from larger cities, in implementing new policies and that type of thing. So I'm assuming, but as I read through this, it looks to me like it's something that would probably be pretty standard, that, in the industry, this is something that is common, I would guess, right?
Yeah, this is very common, and we brought in Kaplan and Kirsch, who's a legal company from East. They do airports across the country, and so yeah, this is probably cobbled together from a number of different airports, but yeah.
That's what I assumed, but I just wanted to hear that, so thank you.
Yeah, I could not dream this up.
Sure, one question for me. And to be clear, we're moving from just a memorandum of understanding to a formal policy. Is that correct in summarizing it? We haven't had a formal policy, as you had mentioned, because we didn't need it. And now this is becoming a formal policy. Is that accurate?
Yeah, this would be a formal policy. I don't think, there may have been some mention of some things in the last airline use and lease agreement that we're replacing now, but we didn't really have these types of rules in place before. Yeah.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Make a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the Airport Commission recommend approval to move forward to the city council with the proposed new Boise Airport gate use and assignment policy effective January 1, 2023.
Well said. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Have our recommendation.
Mayor Nangle.
Mayor.
Thank you. The other item of new business that we have for you, Amy is actually going to present. I think as we've talked about many times, there's a plethora of rules and regulations that the airport has to comply with, from how we operate the airfield to the SMS that we talked about. One of our regulatory compliance items is referred to as Title VI, non-discrimination. And so Amy is going to talk to you a little bit more about our responsibilities in this area. And then I believe we have a short survey that we would like everyone.
Well, I don't know, are we going to present the training? We have it.
I don't have it.
Advance your slide.
Oh, look at that. Do we have a,
Are you waiting for this? It was an attachment to the
Oh,
email.
okay.
Michelle sent.
Right. So I will not be reading this to you because it is a little dry. But, and you have it in your packet, so we're hoping that you did read it. But good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Again, I'm Amy Snyder. I'm the airport's property and contracts manager, but I'm before you today as the airport's Title VI liaison. So the FAA recently performed an audit of our Title VI non-discrimination program, and as a result, we developed training for our employees, tenants, and contractors. This presentation was included in your packet, and since you've had the training in your possession, you can read it on your own. So I'll just be providing a brief overview today. So why do you need this training? As a recipient of federal funds, we're required to comply with specific non-discrimination laws, and you, as a member of our advisory board, should understand and be able to comply with our obligations. So these obligations not only apply to the city of Boise, the Boise Airport, but contractually flow down to our tenants and contractors as well. So as part of the development of our training, not only the employees, we will be working with our project managers and facility folks to get it out to the contractors as well. And then it's my team's responsibility to get it out to all the tenants. We may not discriminate based upon race, sex, creed, or age. In the event of discrimination, we want you all to know what steps to take. So this slide goes into a little bit more detail on those areas. Specific items of the program address those with limited English proficiency, which is LEP, and environmental justice, which takes into consideration the effects of our actions on low income or minority populations. So again, I'll let you read that at your leisure, but it goes into a little bit more of the whole race, color, national origin, sex, creed, age. And the FAA is very specific in the guidance, and they expand on sex and it expands out to the gender as well. So all of our contracts and leases contain federal non-discrimination clauses. Depending on when they were written, they have always had non-discrimination clauses, but the FAA updates them occasionally. So some have more current FAA required non-discrimination, but all of our contracts require our tenants not discriminate. And so you may notice postings of these posters throughout the terminal and throughout the public areas of our tenant spaces, such as the airport chevron, our fixed base operator lobbies, the hotel lobbies. If you're flying at any other airport, they all look like this. Every airport is supposed to, you cannot change it other than right where it mentions the Boise Airport. And ours is in English and Spanish, because Spanish is the second highest percentage spoken language here in our catchment area. So one of the main parts of this training and what I really want to let you know about is how the airport's Title VI complaint procedure. So the procedures, along with other information in our program, are on our website, iflyboise.com. And the City of Boise's Title VI coordinator down at City Hall is responsible for providing leadership, direction, and policy to ensure compliance with Title VI. And there are links to the airport and the city's information on this website. And it can also it links you directly to the city's website as well. So if you ever have any concerns on discrimination, you can speak with me, you could speak directly to the FAA, or you can speak with the city's Title VI coordinator, but you can find all of the information on our website or on those posters throughout the terminal as well. And again, the FAA has specific requirements for reporting complaints and for follow-up on complaints. They have specific timelines that we have to meet. They do have a website that we can go to and submit complaints and how we followed up on them. And there's certain amount of days that we have to file that sort of thing. So that if you need more information, again, because that's why we gave you your packet so that you'd have those links to look at your leisure. I'm going to go into limited English proficiency, which is LEP. The City of Boise, with assistance from the airport, is updating the airport's LEP plan following specific federal guidelines. And we use a 4-factor analysis, which assesses the LEP population, the frequency of contact with LEP individuals, and the importance of access to airport programs and activities to LEP individuals. We're achieving this through surveying frontline employees and tenants, as well as utilizing census data for information in our service area. So the 4-factor is assessing the LEP population, which is the number or proportion of LEP persons who may be served by programs of the airport, which is a little bit tricky because you're like, well, what's a program of the airport? It depends on what it is. A lot of it is the services in the terminal, getting to the gates, directions, but then some of it may be depending on if we're updating our master plan or updating our noise plan. That's a different type of program, and we have a different type of audience at that point in time. So the frequency of contact, which is the frequency of contact with LEP individuals for airport services. And this was why it makes it just a little bit different than the City of Boise's LEP plan. The airport's plan is just a little bit different because our community's a little bit different. We're more regional than just the city. The nature and importance, the 3rd factor is the nature and importance of access to the airport programs, activities. And then the 4th factor is the resources available to the airport for LEP outreach, as well as the costs associated with that outreach. So the FAA does not require that we spend a whole lot of money on this, but a lot of resources are available that don't cost much. So we're expected to manage those appropriately. So some of the ways we have to assist the LEP populations are the language line, which is a telephone translation line. I speak cards, which you can show somebody and they can point to what the language is that they speak, and then so that you can then use the language line. Critical announcements in the terminal are made in Spanish, and then we use universal icons on Boise Airport signage. So they're universal. Even the service animal relief area that we just opened up has a universal sign that goes with it. So as our main consistent public meeting, you've made notice that the Commission Secretary, Michelle, always posts the following statement on the Airport Commission agenda. The City of Boise Department of Aviation, Boise Airport is committed to ensuring accommodations and effective communications with all citizens. Should you have questions about accessibility, auxiliary aids, or services for this public meeting, please call Michelle. And that is both an ADA and a Title VI LEP situation. So if somebody needed sign language or if somebody needed translation services, we, through the City of Boise, have we have the accessible, we have access to translation services that we can utilize. Fortunately, the police and fire have the same kind of situation. So there's a list of translation services in person that if we get a proper notice, then we can make sure we can accommodate. So we do need to maybe take better steps to make sure any of our other public meetings, like when we have the master plan open houses and stuff, have this notice on there so that if anybody does need accommodation, we can ensure that they're accommodated. So we're getting close to the end. Environmental justice, it sounds interesting, but it is, and you can read this to see what it is, but it ensures low income or minority population doesn't bear a disproportionate burden of effects. And that generally comes into play more on our projects, not terminal facility. It's the projects like noise, if we're creating more noise and it's going more over a low income population, it is disproportionate. So it's part of our programming for airport projects, development and planning, and notices for airport projects should take into consideration the impacted LEP communities and the environmental justice information. Generally, this is part of our project environmental review process. So it would be more of the project managers and Mabataya's group to kind of go through the environmental justice component of as they are programming their projects. So the next one is the penalties. So the FAA has recently required a Title VI form, a more extensive Title VI form be completed for every grant application. They're still developing guidance for the form, and eventually every airport in the country will have an FAA-approved Title VI plan and a community participation plan. So that community participation plan, once they give us the guidance to develop that, I think it's going to be a very useful tool. But basically, the penalties could be that they could withhold grants from us. So it is substantial penalty. And then on compliance, in closing, just be aware of the Title VI requirements. Know where to find the information, including the complaint form. Report any violations immediately to the proper authority, be that the FAA, the city, or me. And before you leave today, we're going to ask that you complete a quick demographic survey as part of our LEP plan. This is a QR code, and you don't have to do it now, just maybe before you leave. If you want to do it, you just use your telephone and take a quick survey. It should be pretty painless. We're not getting too much into your demographic information, just what the FAA requires. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions for Amy or questions on our
I don't think so. It sounds like it's an important thing to comply with. $24 million of grants.
FAA holds that carrot over us many, many times.
For many different requirements, yes.
ADA and all sorts of things.
Anybody
EMS.
have any other new business? Thank you, Amy. I have one minor thing that I think we might have mentioned before, but Mayor Mancolas and I were riding the elevator this morning with a couple of passengers. And when they got to the elevator, they pressed the button and they didn't think the elevator was working because it didn't light up, nothing lit up. So that still needs to be fixed. Charge that.
That was on which floor? Do you remember?
That was on
Was that on the first floor?
First floor.
the first floor baggage claim floor. Good question. Okay, this is the time when the general public can ask any questions or inquire for further information from the commission. Do we have anybody that wants to testify or ask any questions? Apparently not. So any other items from the legal?
Not, I'm checking the online participants and there's no hands raised there either, but I don't know.
Thank you. So I guess we can complete the survey and with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Certainly. I move we adjourn, sir.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.